All right, we now welcome on Zion Olojede. Yeah, he is the creator of the at Duke NBA Twitter account. You can also follow his personal Twitter page at Zion Olojede. I'll have the spelling and the link in the bios and everything. Will be good. He's also part of the Complex Sports Podcast. Go check it out anywhere you find your podcasts. Zion, how we doing?
What's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
No,
Appreciate this.
anytime. All right, let's talk about Wednesday night. We're recording this Friday at 6 Eastern.
Hmm.
How did we squeak out that win against Boston College?
Man, it's crazy because Duke obviously trailed, what was it, by 16, 17 points at one point. And to be honest, it just never felt like a loss to me. I tweeted it. It just never felt like a loss. It kind of felt like Boston College was kind of playing above their standards a little bit. I mean, they shot the ball ridiculously. I thought that was going to come back to life. And I thought Duke, obviously, it's 3 weeks off. Yeah. I mean, you can't expect them to come out, playing their best basketball, although it's still Boston College and you still should beat up on those type of teams. I mean, 3 weeks off in a pandemic in a season where they played 5 games. I mean, you can't expect them to play their best, but I'm glad we saw the best of Wendell Moore. That was the only thing I wanted to see. Coming into that game, the only thing I wanted to see was Wendell Moore showing growth, and we got that. So, a win is a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think every conference game is going to be like this. There's going to be a couple blowouts each way, but every game is going to be a grind, more like any other season, right?
For sure. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're recording this before they play tomorrow. Wake Forest.
Yes.
I mean, that's another team that is probably going to compete, and every year that's a team we typically beat on for the most part. So, I mean, we'll see how they play. I think the big test, I hope they don't look ahead too much because obviously the big game is Tuesday against Virginia Tech. Yeah. Hopefully that game is played. But yeah, this is another game. I expect them to come out better than they did against Boston College, at least. But I think they should win this one. And then the Tuesday one, that's one typically we can't expect to win in Blacksburg all the time. So that's going to be the test for them.
Okay, you mentioned at Blacksburg. Does it feel like we have a disadvantage playing at home this year? I feel like we look better on the road. I don't know if that was just like the Notre Dame game and their defense is not good at all. But
I honestly agree. That's what I said. I think before we traveled to Notre Dame, I was like, that might be a breath of fresh air for them because they've been in the same location since the summer, playing in the same gym. And obviously that should mean you should be accustomed to that gym, but it also could mean, you get a little fatigued and you get bored, with no fans. It's kind of like you could get tired there, but
how loud is that rim at Cameron without fans?
Oh my goodness. And I thought they were going to pump in crowd. I think they are pumping in crowd noise, but
they did in the Coppin State game because it was so loud.
But I think they toned it down a bit, that we're not catching it on TV because you kind of hear it in the videos Duke posts when they're in the actual arena. So I guess they're pumping in crowd noise, but it's hard to replicate Cameron. It's impossible. So it's just tough.
So are we better without Jalen?
No, we're not better with.
We saw a few of the Duke fans saying that.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue as long as he's out and they keep winning. But no, we're not better without Jalen. But I think you can say that I guess players could feel more comfortable without Jalen, just because I feel like his play style is a little bit more contradicting and combative to what they have on the roster. I feel like without Jalen in the lineup, you get more guys like Roach and even Wendell back to how they're playing and just play freely, play small ball straight with actual 4 shooters on the floor. Because when you put Jalen at that 3, it's just there's no spacing at all, especially when you're putting Mark Williams at the 5 and then you have Jalen at the 3, and then you have the inconsistent backcourt shooters. you're only relying on Matt Hurt to be your outside threat, and he's your big guy. So it's tough. It's tough for them to play with Jalen, but I think they just don't have enough time. They didn't have enough time to kind of figure it out, and that's why it's gonna look like while he's gone that they might look better.
Yeah, we saw guys like Wendell Moore stepping up, and in the Notre Dame game, Jeremy Roach played huge.
Yeah.
And but so we've had 5 postponed games this year, canceled, whatever you want to call it. Is there any way we should reschedule those?
Listen, I've been looking at every possible scenario. I think they should have definitely tried to. I know Duke doesn't like just scheduling NC State randomly, but the opportunity was there to kind of.
It better not be a PNC.
I mean, I think it would have to be. Oh no, no. A reschedule, not even a reschedule of that game, but like extra game, just add them into the schedule. But that game would have been at Cameron because I think the game schedule is at PNC actually. But I don't think Duke would ever do that. But they're gonna have a layoff January 12th to January 19th after Virginia Tech. If they do not schedule a game in between there, or at least reschedule a game, then they're in trouble because I just don't see how. I was looking at everybody's schedules. I don't see how they're going to really fit in reschedule games. But I mean, the UNC's been doing it. UNC's already rescheduled 2 games with Syracuse. So I don't get how Duke is not jumping on the wave.
All right, where do you see this team finishing at the end of the year? Honestly, I mean, we don't know. They haven't gotten into their usual weird like February stride where they just knock 7 off in a row, but we're expecting that. Do you see them going past this, getting to the second weekend of the tournament?
See, it's just so tough at this point, just because not even because they played so many, it's like so little games. I think adding to the fact that the tournament now is in one location, and the fact that the college basketball is so up in the air this year, especially with no fans. It's like any night, any given night, a powerhouse can go down. Obviously, we've seen Kentucky lose just about every game before this recent stretch. UNC's pretty much just fighting for their lives every single game, and that's something like I personally never really see. Like UNC usually is a program that even when there may not be like the top tier and they have a solid roster, they still take care of the bad teams.
Yeah,
like they'll if they get their losses, it's going to be from teams that are just strictly better than them. But like to see them struggling with every single team is kind of crazy. But I just think it's hard to tell right now. I mean, do I think Duke is going to be in the tournament? Obviously, yes. Do I think they're going to be a top 3 seed?
No.
If I put my money on it, no. But it's like we haven't really seen. They're undefeated in ACC play. Let's say they lose 2 games in the ACC throughout the schedule. They're probably going to end up in the top 15, top 10 range if they do dominate the ACC play. So like a lot can happen from now into the tournament. So I think it's hard to forecast right now. But I wouldn't give up hope that Duke can make like a Sweet 16, Elite 8 type run.
Yeah, it feels a little like 2016.
Yeah,
we're like, hey, we're cool with losing to Oregon.
yeah. I mean, if we catch Gonzaga in the tournament, that I could guarantee you we're gonna get destroyed.
Oh my gosh! But they destroyed my BYU Cougars last night.
Yeah, Gonzaga is just another level. It's just like not fair. Jalen Suggs, they just have everything. Like they have the scoring, they have the defenders, they have veteran presence, like, and they have these star freshmen. Like they pretty much check off every category.
And they get to go through an easy conference play. Exactly. They had their hard non-conference, so they know they can beat those teams, and then they get just to cruise. But they're going to be a 20+ point favorite every single game in their
every game.
All right, so we saw on Wednesday, Coach K did not coach against Boston College. John Shire did. Leads the question: is Shire the next guy?
I hope not. I'm not.
Are you a Capel guy?
Yeah, I'm a Jeff Capel guy. I've always been a Jeff Capel guy. I mean, I think Capel is perfect because number one, the Duke rosters we're seeing now every year, with the exception, I guess, of last year, kind of the Duke rosters we're seeing every year, we're just stacked with talent. If Cable comes back and takes over Coach K's, program, I think that's going to continue. Like Duke is still going to continue to get those top 10, top 15 recruits every single year. And I think the coaching angle, I mean, he's had his stint with coaching at Oklahoma and now at Pittsburgh. Obviously, he hasn't like been a world beater, but I think he's definitely made some progress, especially with the Pittsburgh program, as best he's could. But I think it's not. I think if you give him the talent that we've had the past couple of years, I think Duke is still at least, still dominating most of the year. It's just the tournament. That's a different story, and that's where you got to build your legacy. But I'm more a little capable. I mean, we've had Quinn Cook and former players on our Duke show, and they've said Jeff Capel as their guy, as the person they think. So I think like that's the consensus around like the Duke community.
Yeah, I just beg it's not Carolina lover Jay Billis.
Oh no, I don't think Billis is getting anywhere near the coaching staff.
Nor should he. But you don't see a guy like Wojo or Chris Collins or Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, Quinn Snyder would be very interesting coming from the NBA. I think that would be definitely tough for him. But obviously, it might have his advantages, being that he's been somewhat successful on the biggest stage of basketball. But Wojo, Chris Collins, I think those options have kind of watered down for me. I don't know. Like initially when they made their moves to their respective schools, I thought, okay, maybe they're setting it up for the future. But I mean, Marquette has been solid. They've had their moments. Northwestern kind of the same. They've had their moments, but it's not consistent. But I don't know. I think they've kind of lost a little bit of that fire that they would have kind of had and the momentum that they would have had to get the job. But I'm sure they're going to be called. I'm sure all of them are going to be called eventually,
including Hurley.
It's just going to be yeah, for sure. Hurley too. Hurley is a sleeper. Yeah. I technically, out of all of the names, coaching wise, I trust Hurley the most. To be honest, I just think he's done a lot.
Very well recruiting.
Yeah, he's done well. He's going to dominate recruiting, even if he goes to Duke. And I think he might have the edge coaching wise over a Collins and a Wojo, to be honest. But obviously, it's about matching what Duke wants. So we'll see.
All right. So I mentioned this before we started. The 2018 Zion year. That's the best Duke team we've ever seen, right?
100%. That's the most talented Duke team. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise that there's been older Duke teams that was more talented than that. No, there've been older Duke teams that have more veterans. They had more, more maybe complete teams, but in terms of firepower and talent, nothing's beating that year.
Okay, so are you one of those guys that criticizes Coach K, or
in terms of
some people are just say you can't question Coach K, he's the GOAT, blah blah blah. I'm like, was that not the word? That was awful how we executed those end of game situations that year.
Yeah, I think Coach K on the ball. I have no problem really calling out Coach K. I'm never going to question him to an extent where I'm saying maybe he should not be coaching this team, but I think it's always everyone's human. People, coaches are going to make mistakes too. I think Coach K has had his share of mistakes with our rosters, and I think he'll tell you himself that he hasn't been perfect himself, but it happens. But definitely Coach K not getting Zion the ball down the stretch was a consistent theme the whole year. It started
with Gonzaga.
Yeah, Gonzaga, the first loss at the Maui Invitational. RJ Barrett, although RJ made some big shots, Zion needed the ball down the stretch. And that trend continued until the last game of the season. And it was actually the year before, too. He did the same thing with Marvin Bagley. Didn't get the ball.
It was Grayson Allen.
Yeah. Marvin Bagley was one of the most automatic buckets I've ever seen at Duke for a big man. him and Jaleel kind of in that same of in the one and done tiers. Like you give them the ball, they're getting you a bucket, and we just didn't get them the ball, and that's why we flailed out.
Is Bagley the most underrated Duke player?
Mm.
Because nobody gives him the credit he deserves. Probably because Zion came in right after him.
Yeah, I think because Zion came in and Bagley wasn't really, although he was the star, he wasn't really the face of the team. Grayson was still the face. Yeah. Grayson was still getting all the headlines. And I think also what contributed to kind of Bagley being underrated was the fact he was in Trae Young's year. And Trae Young was getting every single headline. Even when Bagley had 30 and 20, Trae Young was still dominating the national headlines. And I think that kind of took away from Bagley's kind of impact and what he did. But like, I personally, Bagley's one of my favorite of time to watch at Duke. But obviously he didn't really get the respect he deserves. But also kind of the relationships too, not with Bagley itself, but I mean, just to keep it real, his father and stuff like that. There was no like kind of, there was still a nagging, I think, problem with, him in the background. And now you're kind of seeing it in the NBA too.
Yeah.
I think Bagley is definitely, I can agree. He's probably the most underrated.
Gary Trent that year also deserved the ball in any game situations
for sure,
a lot
Gary
more.
Too. Yeah,
he was
definitely.
so clutch. All right. I probably should have opened with this. Give me your backstory. Like, how did this Duke NBA account start?
Oh man, it started kind of
like, how old were you?
I think I started initially as a different Duke account, and I really forget what year it was. It definitely was because I started it. I think I started it while I was in high school. I mean, I graduated college in 2018, so I think I started it 2012. I would say 2012. So definitely when I was in high school.
What an awful year to start.
Yeah. Bad year to start. Ironically,
if people don't remember, 2012 is when Duke lost to Lehigh.
Ironically, I'm a Lehigh graduate now.
I saw that.
I think I just started it, and I don't think I really picked it up, like actually like started consistently tweeting until like 2014, 2015 season when they won the championship. That's when I kind of like started going hard tweeting like that year. And it's been like, I mean, it's been from there. It's just been like, I was having fun with it. Initially, it was like I was kind of like this mystery person, kind of like I didn't have my my identity attached to it. I never did, but I always had a plan. Like eventually, that I was gonna. I kind of foresee that that I was gonna get this amount of followers and like because I naturally like that's how I work on social media. But like I knew at the time I was definitely gonna reveal myself, and I think I've kind of done that the past couple of years. Just because at this point, like there's so many people like Kyrie follows, like obviously all the Jones brothers, like Luke Kennard, JJ Redick, all these guys. So I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want to like not capitalize on having all these people follow me and just be like some random account. So like I wanted to put more personality to it, and now it's like got to a point where obviously we're doing the live shows now, we're doing all types of content now. So I'm trying to build it into something kind of bigger than myself at this point and, see where I could take it. Obviously I have my normal day-to-day job, but this is good. Definitely something I'm looking to like in the future monetize at some point and trying to, grow the brand a little bit.
How often, like, how much time do you spend on Twitter just tweeting? Like you post a clip from a game instantly.
Yeah. It's like, it's my normal job because I work with Complex as primarily for social. So like it's naturally I'm on Twitter 24/7 just because it's my job. I'm on Instagram half of that time and on Facebook a little bit. Like so I'm always pretty much on social media for my work just in general. So this kind of came naturally. but I was kind of doing this. This prepared me for my day-to-day job, I would say. But I'm on Twitter 24/7. I mean, the only times I'm really not is kind of when I'm probably just like trying to distance myself and kind of like take a break if I'm just like watching shows or just doing something else to kind of get my mind away from it. But it's the sports world and anything can happen at any point. So like you have to kind of keep track. It's just so you don't lose anything.
So with this Duke NBA Twitter account, what kind of relationships have you created with the former players or players there now?
I
if
mean,
there's any.
there's definitely a lot. I think the biggest one was Quinn Cook because Quinn Cook, before I kind of blew up, Quinn Cook kind of made me blow up because I think I had like maybe a couple thousand followers, but I wasn't really like popping yet. Quinn Cook, when I used to cover him after he graduated and he went to the G League then. The D League then.
Yeah, because he was on the Canton charge.
Yeah, it was on the Canton charge. I used to kind of like, because just with Quinn Cook, everybody loves Quinn. So I was like, let me kind of follow Quinn and what he's doing, even though he's not in the league. You know, people still want to kind of hear what Quinn is doing. So like Quinn, when he when he got to the D League, he was killing it like from the start. He was putting up numbers. So like I would consistently like push out Quinn Cook content, and then it got to a point where he followed me, and then I started because it was at the point I didn't have a personal account yet. So on the Duke account, I would tweet anything. Like I'd start tweeting about the Giants. And I think he was like he's a Washington football fan now. It was the Redskins back then, and I think I started talking smack about Washington, and I think he got mad and he unfollowed me after that. But it still got to a point where I was still covering him, and he still DM me. He still DM me even though he wasn't following me. So like I'd be posting stats, and it get to a point where I'd be posting stats and I might have something wrong. I might switch the assists and the rebounds. He'll DM me, yo, nah, I had this amount of assists and this amount of rebounds. I was like, oh, my fault, bro. But yeah, it's like, and then Quinn was kind of like the first when he did get to the league. And I interned at Complex. He was kind of like the first NBA player I had a relationship with. So I just hit him up through the DM. Actually, I was like, yo, I'm trying to do this story for Complex as an intern. Can I interview you? And he was like, yeah, just email, blah, blah, blah. Emailed his rep and we set it up, and they actually call me. Usually if you're interviewing someone, you get their contact. And he called me and he was like, oh yeah, what's up, bro? Before we did the interview, we were just like talking about, the past couple of years, and he was like, oh yeah, this is my number, just save it. And just like whatever you need, just let me know. That was kind of like, that was crazy for me. Like even I was in college at the time. I was like, yo, dang, I really have this guy's number, NBA player Quinn Cook. But yeah, it's just like, that's definitely like Quinn. I definitely give him credit. Even when he came on the show, like I was like, he kind of helped me jumpstart my career in a way, and it was just all from this Duke NBA account. But yeah, just to cut it short, obviously Quinn is up there, and Trey's definitely the more recent one. Trey, like we're talking all the time, DMs, and he's always obviously resharing on Twitter, and he'll pop into the show. I actually popped into one of the shows one time, just randomly in the comments. But like he's definitely a good dude. Yeah, the Tyus, definitely Trey and Tyus are up there as well. Hopefully we get some more Dookies like Zion and them on
board. So how many Twitter accounts do you have on your phone? Like, how many times have you tweeted from the wrong Twitter account?
I used to do that. What's crazy is some people know this, but at Complex, so I'm signed into the Complex Sports Twitter. And one time I meant to reply from my Duke account, and I like quote somebody, and I think it was like Reese Davis or somebody. I was actually slandering them, and I tweeted it from Complex Sports, and this account. Well, it's at like 300,000 now, but I think at the time it was like 100,000. And I was like, yo, I hope nobody saw this. I deleted it after like 3 seconds, but it's like, I was like, I gotta figure a way. I just gotta make sure I don't tweet. I gotta make sure I tweet to the right account. Someone did catch it. They did message me, but it was like one of my coworkers. He didn't really care. He was just laughing at it. But yeah, I'm signed into like seven. This is another story. I actually created the official page for like the Nigerian men's basketball team, their Olympic team. Yeah, that was something. That was something at the same time. It was kind of when I started the Duke account. At the same time, I was like, oh, let me start because they were in the Olympics at the time. That was when they played the U.S. and they lost to the U.S. by like 60 points. And Carmelo Anthony did whatever. He had like 30. But that was like the time they first played in the Olympics. So I was like, nobody covers them. So I was like, let me start a Twitter account. So through the years, like I kind of just was tweeting randomly, and it just got to a point where I started knowing the coaches. The coaches started asking me for advice. Then I flew out to Houston when they played the U.S. before they traveled to Rio for the Olympics. They played the U.S. in like the Rockets arena. So like I was on the court with like KD and them and like Harden, whoever was playing at the time. And actually met Justice too there randomly, but that's another story. But yeah, it's just like Twitter kind of paved the way a lot for me of what I've done. So yeah, I think I'm signed into about probably 7-8 accounts. Yeah.
Okay, last thing before you go. Give me your craziest story about meeting a Duke player. You kind of mentioned that there with Justice. Or doesn't even have to be a Duke player. Big time athlete or celebrity.
I mean, I'll keep it to Duke. What's a Duke player? I mean, I feel like Justice is a cool story just because Justice was. It was after that Nigeria US game, and it was in Houston, obviously in the Rockets arena. Justice wasn't on Team USA. I think he just came for Coach K because obviously Coach K was coaching. And I was just walking out the arena because I was with the team. I was just walking out the arena, and I randomly I was only me. It was like only me in the hallway and only him coming. I see him walking towards me. I was like, yo, that face looks mad familiar. And I wasn't even trying to be like a fan moment, but it just I just naturally burst out. Oh, that's Justice Winslow. And then he just turns around and he stops. He's like, yo, what's good, bro? Yo, how you doing? And then we just talk for like 10 seconds. But I was just like, yo, that's crazy that I just randomly saw him there. And he was, at the time, it was like, I think he, obviously all these guys pretty much know the Twitter, but I didn't want to introduce myself as, oh yeah, I'm this guy on Twitter. But I was just like, yo, that was mad cool. It was a mad cool moment.
Have you been invited to K Academy yet?
K Academy's for people who are high up there in tax bracket and age. But
hey, we'll get there. We'll get there at 35.
Yeah, hopefully, but that's gonna be. Hopefully, Coach K is still coaching somehow. We'll see, though. We'll see.
But all right, I won't take any more of your time. Thanks for joining me, man.
For sure, man. For sure. Thanks for having me.
Go check out the Complex Sports Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow his Twitter page at Duke NBA if you don't already. Even if you're a Carolina fan, who cares? And follow
if you're a Carolina fan, don't follow me.
And then follow his personal Twitter page at Zion Olojede.
Yeah, Olojede.
Okay, yeah, I'm never gonna get that.
Close enough.
For you non-spellers out there, ZionOlojede. Appreciate it, my man.
And appreciate you having me, bro.